I would like to share some thoughts about horse breeding with you. In the academic art of riding, we are proud that we can work with any kind of horses. We have tools like school hold to bend the haunches of even heavy cold-bloods or light Arabs and see how to teach them what to do. But on the other hand, we want to reconstruct the ancient cultural heritage of Europe, that is the academic art of riding. And we have very big problems to find the horses that we used to have in Europe and that we used to call riding horses. The first problem is the character. Because if you select only on being fast, it's not sure that the horses are so intelligent anymore as they used to be. Because you don't have to be very smart just to be fast. So if you have to learn, you have to be very smart. And one of my favorite horses, Tableau, is the most intelligent horse I've ever met. If I teach him something, for example, on a Friday afternoon and go for a weekend clinic, when I get back on the Monday, he can still remember it. So he's the smartest horse I ever knew. He's very easy to teach. And that's a bit of a problem because we don't select on the interior anymore. We select on the exterior. Can they run fast? Can they jump high? And if we cross fast horses and jumping horses, it's still not sure that we will get intelligent horses. And that's a big problem because all breeders all over the world are more and more breeding only on the exterior. Having the perfect building doesn't make a smart horse. Also nowadays 90% of all riders are spare time riders. They don't go for competitions, they just have the horse as a family member, and therefore it's more important than ever that we have horses that we like to have around us. It's like a dog that we are integrating in the family, and therefore it's much nicer to have a member of the family that is nice to have. So having a good character means that it is a nice horse and also an intelligent horse. It's not always that intelligent horses are also kind. So a kind horse is also very important to us. Then of course in the warm blood breed we nowadays see that you select more and more on horses that have success in dressage. And dressage does not only mean that they are good in moving their legs, it's also their ability of learning what you're teaching them. So we will get a little of this kind of selection again if we are selecting in well-succeeding horses that were good in learning. But just jumping high and running fast doesn't give you the ability of lead the horse exactly to the fence you want to jump. So even though that we are proud that we can teach most kind of horses, they have to learn to learn. And that's a long process, being a good pupil, and also you, of course, being a good teacher of that pupil. Then, of course, I don't tell you to go out and find horses who have physically big problems just because they're kind. I won't call a horse my own horse if I don't get a good personal contact to that horse. But on the other hand, there are physical abilities that do make it quite some easier to make different things. So, for example, I might teach a Shetland pony to jump, but I cannot teach him to jump 1.80 m. He can learn to jump better than he could before, but not that high. So, of course, if you want a jumping horse, you have to select a horse who has the ability of jumping and is a nice horse that you have to be around. In the academic art of riding, what makes a good horse is his ability of carrying. The way the hind quarter is carrying the chest. You are sitting on that chest, and if the horse cannot carry it very well by nature, but pushing it forwards into a breast collar, being a coach horse, doesn't make the horse a good riding horse. The way the horse is carrying the chest when you're on the top is also the way that horse will carry its own shoulders and neck. So in the way that the shoulders and the neck is carried and moved, you can see if the horse has the ability to carry that chest even when you are sitting on the top of it. Of course, it will be more difficult when you are sitting on it. So the ability of a good riding horse is, the physical ability is of the hindquarter, that the horse can bend the haunches and lift up the chest with you on the top. A little tip, the real riding horse is usually it was a mountain horse. It was living in the mountain. So when it got frightened or upset, it lowered the hindquarter, that it lifted up the chest. So if you see a horse that when it gets frightened and upset, lift the tail, we kind of more having a desert horse that can run fast straight out, but it's not lifting the shoulder and the neck in a way that a real riding horse does. That is a big problem to us nowadays, that we do not select on real riding horses. If you, for example, look back even to ancient time, this is a Roman statue. And this kind of horse we have seen all through history. If it's the old Greek, or in this case, the old Romans. If you see a medieval drawing of a horse, if you see a Renaissance horse, a Baroque horse, even up into the Classicism, you will see this type of horse all through history. For thousands of years, man has selected on this kind of horses. The closest I come to it is, for example, El Blanco, belonging to one of my teachers, Alvaro Domecq. Okay, this horse died long before I was born, but I still have pictures of it in my head and have seen other horses like it, having a very high degree of functionality. Functionality means having the ability of doing what you want it to do, even by nature. So that is what breeders is doing. When I myself is working with wax, this is bee wax that I have worked with here on a sculpture of a horse, I'm kind of being like a breeder, saying I want a little more round muscles here out of the hindquarter, a bit lower put tail. I can lift the chest up, I can put the neck out of it. Of course I can make a pretty face and the way the legs are moving. And that's a bit the job of a breeder too. To say, what kind of horses are we breeding for? And I'm afraid that we might be some of the last generation by coincidence who can still find a real riding horse. Some years ago I tried to go to Spain to see if I could still find a horse like El Blanco. And I didn't find it. I got close to it, but I didn't find it. And then by coincidence, some of my pupils saw on the internet a horse, which is now the one I call Swan. So I do own a horse like that now. But it was very, very difficult to find. And I think it's very pity when the breeders do not feel their cultural heritage. We are just one generation, and even one generation can ruin the whole tradition. So when a Norwegian horse does not look like a Norwegian anymore, then it's not a Norwegian horse. So before you start to breed a horse, you must understand the spirit of that horse. If you do not feel for that spirit, find another horse breed that are like the thing you feel for. So if you feel more for the kind of Tracanians, then breed Tracanians. Don't change Lusitanos to look like Tracanians. Why should they? They are not. So if you don't have what you want to, you must be a breeder of something else and not ruining thousands of years of tradition just in one generation. Getting the feeling of the breed. So for example, on Iceland, as I was working on Iceland, we had Icelandic horses who were very good to go and watch sheeps. They had a lot of energy that they kept on working all day. On Iceland it's called vilja. Today they have competition machines. And they might be very good for the kind of competitions they want to do, but they're absolutely useless for going out in the mountain watching sheeps. So they lost their own cultural heritage. They might have to change the breed into two different directions, then they might be able to keep their own tradition. But tradition is something that must be kept from generation to generation. And there I would like to see some more people carrying their cultural heritage into the next generation.